class. I'm Teacher Joanna from Kalayaan National High School, Caloocan. Are you guys ready for this exciting English lesson? Alright, before we begin, I want you to say, English is fun. English is fun. Great job! To begin with, I want us to remember some of the rules in this time of pandemic to win the fight against COVID-19. Number 1, you must wash your hands regularly. Number 2, you should avoid touching your face, eyes, nose, and mouth. Number 3, you must cover your mouth or nose when coughing or sneezing. Number 4, you must wear your face mask to protect yourself and others. Number 5, we must practice social distancing. Number 6, we should clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces. Number 7, you must stay at home unless absolutely necessary. What do you call in the underlined words in the given rules? Very good! We call them modal verbs. A modal verb is a type of auxiliary or helping verb that is used to express ability, possibility, permission, or obligation, and many others. In this lesson, we will focus on modal verbs that we use to ask and give permission and express obligation and prohibition, or what we call POP modals. P stands for permission, O stands for obligation, and P stands for prohibition. So let's begin with permission. Use can or could to indicate whether someone has permission to do something or not. Can is used to say that someone is allowed to do something. Example number 1, you can use my new bike. The sentence expresses giving permission. Example number 2, can I be your partner? This sentence expresses asking permission. Could is more formal and polite than can. Examples number 1, could I ask you something? Example number 2, could I bring a friend to the party? Could is also used to say that someone was allowed to do something in the past. Example number 1, he could borrow my cell phone. Example number 2, she could have used my messenger. May is the most formal way to ask for and give permission. Example number 1, may I see your ID? Example number 2, customers may request an order receipt right after the delivery. Might is the past tense of may used in questions and request. Example number 1, He asked if he might visit you on Sunday. Example number 2. They want to know if they might come later. Next, let's talk about modals of obligation. When we use obligation, it's a duty or commitment. It's something that we have to do. We use have to and must to express obligation. However, there is a slight difference between the way we use them. Must expresses a strong obligation or necessity. Example number 1, I must submit my projects before the deadline. Example number 2, you must finish your module on Tuesday or you will lose 90% of your grade. Have to shows that the obligation comes from someone else and not the speaker. This is usually referring to a rule or general law. Example number 1, we have to wear complete uniform when we're in school. Example number 2, when do we have to return the module? Remember, use don't have to show that there is no obligation or not compulsory. Example number 1, you don't have to bring anything when you visit me. Example number 2, they don't have to join us. Next, should suggest personal obligation, weaker than must, and we use it to give advice or suggestions, telling people that you think it is a good idea. Example number 1, we should patronize Philippines products. Example number 2, locals should guide tourists in their area. Example number 3, you should study so you can pass the exam. The last one is the modal of prohibition. These modal verbs are used when we want to say that something is not allowed. Use can't and mustn't to show that something is prohibited or not allowed. Can't or cannot is used to say that they do not have permission. Example number 1, we can't wear cap in the class. Example number 2, they can't enter the area for coronavirus patients. Mustn't or must not, use must not to talk about what is not permitted. It is common on public signs and notices informing people of rules and laws. Example number 1, visitors must not go around the prohibited area in the hospital. Number 2, personal belongings must not be left unattended. Use mustn't particularly when the prohibition comes from the speaker. Example number 3, parent to child, you mustn't say things like that to someone older than you. Example number 4. You mustn't be absent tomorrow. May not is the formal way to prohibit something. Example number 1. She may not enter the supermarket without quarantine pass. Example number 2. Senior citizens may not go out unless necessary. Alright, we did it! We just have talked about modals of permission, obligation, and prohibition. Now, let's check our understanding regarding this lesson. In this activity, I want you to underline the modals used in the sentences. Then write PE if it expresses permission, O for obligation, and PR for prohibition on the blank before each number. Sentence number 1. You have to attend every online session. Sentence number 2. Sheila may now answer the question. Sentence number 3. You can't go out without face mask. Alright, so let's answer our activity. Sentence number 1. The model there is very good. Have to. And that is model of obligation. Sentence number 2. The model here is very good. May. And this is model of permission. Sentence number 3. The model here is very good. Can't. And this is model of prohibition. Great job, class! I hope you learned from our lesson today. I'll see you next time. This is Teacher Joanna saying goodbye.